Chairman Scott Mead is not present. Greg Strog is absent. Alderman Dan Mayer. Present. Dale Webler.
Present.
Laura Galusha is excused. James Rayberger.
Present.
Rajiv Sarana is excused. Norma Kesson.
Yep.
John Farney. Rajiv Sarana is excused. Norma Kesson.
Yep.
John Farney is excused. Jaspreet Kaur is excused. Michelle Tischer.
Here.
And then both me and Peggy. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, no citizens are present, so we'll go on to the next one. Review and approval of the January 26, 2022 meeting minutes.
I'll move that we approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Motion carried. Thank you. First up in terms of an agenda item is the fiber network and access. I believe we have a packet.
So you do have a packet at your chairs tonight. I can just kind of walk through it in the order that we have it. The very first page, the one without the star in the column, that's the true updated costing. So I'm under the third section that says new fiber build. The construction installation materials, everything to get ready, as well as a $115,000 payment required to Franklin Public School District is $1,239,455. That is our best budget estimate at this time. And then once the locating support, including the WISCNet costs, the Franklin Public School District costs, maintenance, locating of all of that fiber, and the support would be $3,026.40 per month, which equals $36,318 per year. When we get to the next, is that payback. The one that I put a star on, it's not necessarily a real estimate, because the money obviously does have to come from somewhere, but the build out for the fiber project is being recommended to use American Rescue Plan funds. So basically that's zero to use American Rescue Plan funds. So basically that's zero from the city of Franklin. That's why it shows the zero there, but again, obviously it comes from someplace, and it is grant money that we are suggesting to use for the build out. So basically the cost of the city of Franklin is approximately $36,300 per month. Franklin is approximately $36,300 per month. And as far as rate guarantees and things like that, we don't really have a lot of that, but I can tell you WISCNet has very flat costs. In fact, their model is the more customers they get, the more they can bring the rates down due to that. So that's those two items.
I'm not following where that is.
Oh, I'm sorry. So it's $3,026. It's in the under the Section 3 new fiber build, under the orange-ish. So $36 per
okay.
month
I thought it was
equals.
36. Okay.
You're right. It equals
Okay.
the $36,000, and I have all that broken down on the question and answer sheet that you'll see in just a
Okay,
minute.
thank
This was just something MCE had updated for us.
Chairman, I got a connector. I got to grab out.
This is very
Who are
helpful.
you?
Thank you. This is very
Who are
helpful.
you?
Thank you.
What authority do you have here?
I have no authority.
So the big packet that you have in front of you, where what we tried to do as staff is just take down all the questions that you had asked last time. So the first one does a lot more in-depth on the costing. So and that would be that $1,239,455 that I mentioned. I think we talked last time a little bit about when we first scoped this project out in the beginning of 2021, we were thinking that the city of Franklin was going to have to go it on its own. Since then, we've been partnering with the Franklin School District, the city of Muskego. We think that will save us approximately $247,000. And what I'm trying to show you is all of the worst case numbers. So we think it could be a fair amount more. We think there's a chance we might be able to negotiate some more costs with the school district, just because they're going to have some future new buildings out near our public works facility. So our idea, So our idea is if we help them and they can help us, we can maybe negotiate some of that. We didn't want to get too far with those negotiations until we have the blessing from both the Technology Commission as well as the council to move forward. So this is what you might call a worst case. There was, I'm still in answer one, the non-bolded area, talking about the options. We did discuss in the study that we could install some additional ducts, and what that would do is allow us to lease that duct space as well as fibers to other entities. But when you look at the cost of what that would be, approximately $500,000, we're not recommending that we would go through with that. We do have funding, a funding source for the capital piece of this, American Rescue Plans, as we discussed. In the budget, adopted 2022 budget is $1,371,000. That was our initial cost for the project, not including the $115,000 from the school. Reconciled to get from the $1.3 million down to the $1.2 million. The difference is the $247,000, that includes the $115,000. Then we get down to the operating costs, and again, this is for a 10 gigabit service. We would pay WISCnet, basically our internet cost would be approximately $7,000, that includes the $115,000. Then we get down to the operating costs, and again, this is for a 10 gigabit service. We would pay WISCnet, basically our internet cost would be approximately $8,700 per year. This weekend membership, this is the it's the Waukesha-wide group with little factions across the state depending on where you're at, and it's just for the reason I told you about. It's about sharing services. It's about working with all of those entities to make sure that we're providing the best service we can and at the lowest cost. So that's what that's all about. Franklin Public, this $115,000 that we would pay right at the beginning, that would cover 40 years worth of service. And then they ask to pay all the entities that share their service to pay $4,000. Every once in a while, there's a break, and a break could cost somewhere in the neighborhood of like $40,000 to $50,000. And so they're basically saving this money up in an escrow in case that should happen. And then as far as the last line, that would be locating maintenance on the non-Franklin Public School District. Sometimes we have mandated moves where we're in a certain place under the pavement and DOT might come through with a project and require us to make a move. Not necessarily a guaranteed cost, but something we wanted to just build into the process just in case, as well as support from MCE or whoever we might choose to help us, because we're not in the business of maintaining fiber. We have a very small IT department. We're not going to ask them to do it. We would. All of those things are approximately $36,000 per year. Citywide costs today are approximately $43,000, and that's for all of our different buildings for different levels, really. Jim, I think we have gigabit service here and at the PD, but
that's it.
At all the other buildings. So we're paying $43,000 for that today. We would be paying $36,000 with all of our maintenance, locating, et cetera, going forward. Fiber maintenance costs, we are assuming one break every 5 years. We do believe that it would be either one of two things, either a negligent third party that caused a break, or one of two things, either a negligent third party that caused a break, or maybe us ourselves when we were doing construction work, and then that would be, of course, a city insurance claim. We have a $5,000 deductible, so I wanted to include that in there. We did talk about an optional redundant POP to the Muskegon Norway School District. Basically, depending on the size, I'm assuming want to go with the 10 gigabit. That would be $2,000 one time and $1,200 annually for some extra redundancy in addition to our ring. We did get some pricing over the last 18 months from different areas, like we had an Everstream cost. That was a 1 gigabit service, and it was $100,800 per year, and that pricing was good for 7 years, or 84 months. The next three actually are MCE estimates. They had given us what they have been seeing out there. So that was just some information there. What we're doing really is just kind of price checking ourselves to say, does this project still make sense? And according to all the prices we've gotten, it does. Question 2 was basically just to show you a little bit of background on what we currently have and that's kind of what we just talked. Question 3 was basically, what is the value of a 10 gigabit service? And we had a lot of conversation on this. Jim provided a lot of information. What I will tell you on this one is, we probably don't need 10 gigabits right now, but we need more than one. So as we worked through it with our consultant MCE, basically their projections, were this should be like a 10-year future proof, that we know we'd be okay, perhaps longer, but, and there's some details on that from Jim. We talked about future utilization. We kind of talked about maybe a good thing would be that we have there on the second page. Those are just from Janesville School District. It was a project that MCE had worked on, and so they just wanted to show some charting. But there is a link that I have included in there, and basically you can see any customer of WISCNet for the last 4 years, or as long as they've been on the system, up to 4 years, that all of their usage history is on the website. So that's some more information. We had talked about what other entities are part of WISCNet. There's a 12-page document attached to the back of these large 11 by 17 sheets, which basically shows all their organizations. WISCNet originally, way back, doing a lot of school districts, so you will see that. You will also see the largest counties and the largest communities in the state on here. So basically, the WISCNet path is from Madison across 94 to Milwaukee, up 41, up 43, all the way up to Marinette. So that's kind of the trail. If you have some place in the north, it would cost them too much to get to there. But like, this isn't numbered, and I apologize for that, but if you go pages in, it's actually page 6, so the third page, but on the back side, you'll see a number of the communities that are included, as well as on the front side of that page, Appleton, Beloit, Brookfield, De Pere, Eau Claire, Fond du Lac, Green Bay, Greenfield, Janesville, La Crosse. Greendale is also in the process of connecting La Crosse, Madison, Marinette, and then so on. So basically, it's all of the mid to major sized cities in the state that are on it, as well as you'll see all throughout these 12 pages, all the counties: Dane County, Milwaukee County, State of Wisconsin, City of Milwaukee, Milwaukee County, Waukesha County, every county.
And the entire UW university system is on it as well. So if there's a city with a university, is on it as well. So if there's a city with a university in it, they're going to be on it.
So that was just to show you what that population looks like on WISCNet. It truly is a nonprofit governmental connection. So you can't, if we were to connect to WISCNet, we couldn't sell to a subdivision or something like that. We couldn't do any of that because that's not how WISCNet is made up. So the next one, question and answer, first number 6, it was, what about an example of a project that happened? So this happens to be that same Janesville project that was noted above. It was a 25-mile, or the logistical issues that we have going on today in the marketplace going on. Budget was about just shy of $3 million. Their low bid came in at 2.1. They did have a number of change orders, so 2.25. They came in like almost $800,000 under budget. I'm told that is not that odd for MCE. They tend to over budget and overperform. Because they don't want anybody to get cost. That project approval for that 25-mile project was supposed to be 330 days. It ended up being 345 by the time they were able to use the fiber, and then another 3 months to basically get all the restoration and everything back in place, and that was a function of the weather. I think probably the most important question that the commission had asked was, why should we do this? What can't we do today that we could do tomorrow with that? And that's number 7. So it's on there's a couple points there. I think it's important to go high speed, high security. We have 1 gigabit service, but of course we're competing with all of the other users, right, in this area through the commercial providers. Under WISCNet, that would not be the case. We would be able to establish a secure point-to-point connection with any other external partner that also have to worry about security. Those are probably the 2 very largest reasons why we would want to do this. Next, kind of going along the same one, there's a separation between all of these entities and private users, so the city would not be affected by variable time demand use. It allows us, of course, to expand our bandwidth, demand use. It allows us, of course, to expand our bandwidth quite substantially. Advanced disaster recovery, site-to-site and off-site, we are currently not able to do that in an efficient manner. Obtaining redundancy for city buildings right now, for example, in August of 2020, redundancy for city buildings right now. For example, in August of 2020, we had a server fail over at the PD, and our phone system was basically done. So Jim has been patching a lot of systems together and things like that just to get them usage. We have a lot of outages. As far as, and knock on wood, I think Jim sends a weekly update around, and his first one is, surprised there were no outages last week. So that's indicative of the kind of service we have today. It also eliminates the need to use separate equipment and systems for all of our other facilities. Everybody can run off the main connection. We don't have to pay extra fees, any add-ons for that. It facilitates building-to-building communications across the city, of course, in that same regard. It allows us to go to the cloud. So right now, we can't do Office 365, we can't do cloud storage, different things like that. We would be able to do it in that perspective. We're looking at updating, we're looking at a security system at City Hall, updating our security cameras at the police department. Again, with what we're getting, we couldn't get the value out of those products if we don't have a better internet connection. We talked about VoIP a little bit, voice over IP as far as the phone system goes. And just think of things around the city, traffic and security cameras, intersections, park cameras, school cameras, all of those kinds of things. This kind of a system, this kind of a backbone really sets us up well for all of those kind of things. So that was kind of our list. We're happy to answer any questions. We're happy to take those back if we need to and figure that out.
Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, so WISNet. Is that effectively our internet service provider then?
They would be the ISP, yes.
Okay. And the cost of that, I wasn't clear on the cost of that. How is that depicted here?
So for WISNet, there's two pieces. One of them is the initial investment, and you'd see that under A1 capital costs, $7,700. Now this is just for the ISP piece. And then under operating costs, annually, we would pay $8,700.
Got it.
So
Okay.
WISNet is very economical as long as you have the paths.
And that's all bundled into the $3,000 per month?
Correct.
Ongoing monthly cost?
And you also have to realize that you are getting symmetrical bandwidth.
Absolutely.
With
Up and
this
down.
solution. It's asymmetrical bandwidth, so our upload is significantly slower than our download, and that's what's killing us.
Exactly. Good, thank you.
From my less technical side of things, this sounds like it's going to be a huge net. What's going to be? I mean, is there a chance that Russia could take it out, or a terrorist act could take it out and take out all of these? Is it all separate? Could somebody else be taken out and we're still fine?
It will be easier once you deal with cyber espionage and cyber warfare. Everything is on the table. Everything. There is no secure or safe network. Anonymous proved that today. Is a hacking group which normally attacks other people decided to voice their favor for Ukraine, and they literally took down Russia's main security agency today. If a hacking group can take down the Russian security agency at this point, there's some very good people here. Private network, they may get into it at this point. Everything is still on the internet. Everything is still routed. The chance of them being able to take down irrecoverably a company the size of Spectrum that is as broad and diverse as Spectrum is much greater than it would be to turn around and take. Being able to repair it is going to be so much easier for WISCNet than it would be for Spectrum or AT&T or any other ISP.
Okay, so I guess bottom line is it's the best option out there. There's no option that would be better or more secure.
It's safer, but there is no ultimate in safety.
Right. Okay, thank you.
To dovetail off the Alderman's question regarding the security, given the ubiquity of which you're connected now with WISNet through this, the vulnerability of having an attack at one entity remote and being able to affect the network and be able to affect the other people that are on the network. Can you speak to that a little bit about what is, now that you're exposed to more sites and access to more sites, you're vulnerable? because
Actually,
of this?
we're connected to less sites.
No, I mean, all of these locations.
On the public internet right now, I'm connected to that NAP, that super NAP outside there on the street. I'm connected to every single business, every single home residence in this entire area. There's a lot fewer entries on that sheet than there are on the super NAP sitting over on that site. And that super NAT is connected to another super NAT. 1,000 businesses when I'm on Spectrum, any one of them can technically ping me and get on the network for it. Where you're on the government website, you're on a system, a network that is controlled by the Department of Administration in Madison with expert security engineers and firewall engineers dedicated to turning around and looking at this system and only this system, and for a much smaller subset of customers. And I do not have that today. So that's going from public, where everyone and their horse, can be on it, to a governmental system run by governmental experts.
Excellent.
And there's a lot more security because of the equipment that we place for each connection. So when I said point-to-point connections, that's not necessarily open. That's only what we want to open for each
You
connection.
control that. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one. Turned on here. Does WISNet have security recommendations for connecting to that fiber?
They do, but I have not received the actual. We have an idea where the connections and our entire plan will go with the loops and where the fiber is running, but I have not actually got an actual specification sheet and actual requirements from it yet.
Do we think it's going
It
to
will
mean
become-
adding additional hardware?
Everything that it's going to add is included in the cost.
Okay.
Purchase the routers, and they set up the routers for it, so I don't have to do that, and they secure the
Okay,
routers.
good.
What's the next step then with the commission?
So our ask, if the commission feels comfortable, would be for the commission to recommend this solution to the Common Council. It wouldn't go to the council. We didn't put it on the agenda for tomorrow. It wasn't that much of an emergency, but we would like to put it on for March 15th. And we'd like to get the council's okay to move forward, because that's what's going to be the springboard for us to get all of the intergovernmental agreements in place. Jim was talking about the network map. It's the map I gave you last meeting, and I should have brought more of these. But in order to have some of these savings, like for example in phase 4, or I'll go to phase 2, if we do it alone, they're estimating $600,000. If we do it with the school district and the city of Phase, and on and on. So what that would do is allow us to go forward and get those intergovernmental agreements in place before any constructions would start. Our timeline, our perfect timeline, would start construction sometime around May. And of course, phase 1, which is the complex from the fire department down to the police department, would be our first implementation, and we're confident that we can get that done. I think we said September was our timeline on that piece, and we'd like to do as much as we can. MCE said in normal times, without all of the logistics problems and material issues, et cetera, going on right now, it would have been a slam dunk that we could get it done this year. Now they're just saying, just be aware that it may take us a little bit into next year. But this is something they do all through the winter too, so they usually bore this, so it's definitely able to be done.
I'd be looking for a motion then to recommend to the Common Council the fiber network to access internet services for the City of Franklin municipal business operations.
Yes, so I'll recommend, make a motion that the Director of Information to the Common Council.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I'll probably have to roll call it. Greg Strug's not here. Dale Webler.
Aye.
Laura Galusha's not here. James Rayberger.
Aye.
Virgia Serrana's not here. Norm McKesson.
Aye.
John Farney's not here. Jaspreet Kaur's not here. Michelle Tischer.
Aye.
All in favor.
Thank you. And we will make sure as things progress and evolve, we'll keep the commission up to date.
Thank you.
Certainly, if there's any questions to bring up, we'll be bringing those back as well.
There'll be a presentation then given to the Common Council.
To the
based
Common
upon this.
Council, right, so I'd plan that for March 15th.
And if we could get a copy of that, I think that'd be great. Thank you. Next item, okay, thank you. We have a closed section coming up here for the penetration test, incident response plan, and identification access control.
You have to read that.
Technology Commission may enter closed session for these subject matter items pursuant to the Wisconsin statute 19.85(1)D to consider strategy for crime prevention and the implementation of program and policy tools, therefore, for crime prevention, cyber attack prevention and technology crimes and related thereto, for the protection of infrastructure of the city officials, employees, and the public who use the system, and also pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.85(1)E for the competition and the bargaining reasons with regard to the prevention and protection program of these subject matter items, and the investment of the public funds in thereto relative subject matter items, and the investment of the public funds in thereto relative thereto, and to re-enter open session at the same place thereafter to act on such matters as discussed. That's a motion, I believe, that we go into closed session. All those in favor, say aye.
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 We do need a
Carried.
roll call on that one.
I don't know if we
Go
do.
into closed session.
We do? Okay.
Absolutely.
Chairman Scott Mead's not here. Greg Strug's not here. Alderman Dan Mayer.
Aye.
Dale Webler.
Aye.
Laura Galusha's not here. James Rayberger.
Aye.
Virgia Serrana's not here. Norm McKesson.
Here.
John Farney's not here. Jaspreet Kaur's not here. Michelle Tischer.
Here.
We are now in closed session.
Right, I'll make a motion that we proceed as discussed on item A. Right, I'll make a motion that we proceed as discussed on item A, and there is no action items for B and C.
Second.
We move on to technical issues review. Another vendor for the acquisition of HP and HP Enterprise, along with Lenovo Technology products. Due to continued supply chain problems and product continuing to be on constant back order, another vendor was added to the portfolio of purchasing vendors. Vanguard is a state of Wisconsin portfolio of purchasing vendors. Vanguard is a state of Wisconsin certified NASPO vendor for both manufacturing lines of products. They're able to provide Franklin with the state of Wisconsin negotiated product pricing when applicable. For HPE, almost all service and support is added reseller. Hence, the traditional purchase of compute and storage and network products is now only for equipment instead of hardware and installation services. HPE is now dramatically changing the VAR relationship and the model, hence it's becoming necessary to find additional vendors. And then we move to the Director's Notes of Operations. On Tuesday, 2/15, the City of Franklin Police Department was approved for the 2022 remote CGIS audit. This is an audit that is now officially closed. No major recommendations or security changes in the report were outlined other than finally obtaining an SAAM. The auditor did note that many security improvements, in particular following the NIST framework and developing security policy above and beyond that which is defined by CGIS. The DOJ auditor views this as a very strong fit. The police department is scheduled to have an on-site FBI audit planned for May 24th. The FBI DOJ auditor will be paying particular attention to IT policies and procedures, ensuring that a stated policy is that which is actively being implemented. Like some form of penetration and vulnerability testing is expected to be performed with the audit. When the PD was first opened in 1999-2000. Unfortunately, IT does not have a copy of this assessment within our documentation archives. So this will be a new experience for me. The Milwaukee County TELUS project is scheduled to go live 3/1. The city was unable to perform UAT testing during the 131 period due to problems trying to update the shim code, updated DLLs in the front-end client, to the ProPhoenix CAD client. During the testing were encountered. This required the vendor to halt UAT testing, make additional code changes, and then re-release newly revised code to the Milwaukee County agencies. So far, the new code was released on the 23rd of February and is failing to launch on the Franklin CAD systems. Currently, our Mce CAD system to the newly released 2.22 minor release version. The PD is highly resistant to performing the hotfix at this time. The vendor has been tasked with finding an alternative way to get the code to function and run, otherwise the City of Franklin will not participate with launch. And that is it for the director's notes for operations.
Vulnerabilities like that, should that be done in closed session going forward?
No, because it's fairly, it's being shared between 17 municipalities for it, so it seems to be affecting us more than anybody else. Why? Don't know. But we're one of the few PSAPs at this point that we can't even get their new code to run.
So the implication, though, is that UAT would continue with other clients?
Yes, it will,
and
they will continue
Franklin would be left
testing
behind.
with other municipalities.
So then at some point in time, we'd have to make a decision
They
to
either
move to that.
Move
newer
to a
version.
different, when they feel comfortable, move over to that version. Point is, I don't want December all over again, where we had our CAD down and crashing in the middle of it. I don't need crashing CAD clients at the point where we have potential cyber attacks going on and security hardening. We don't have We don't have the IT time or the resources to dedicate it to it. Vendor, do better. Write better code. Is what it basically comes down to. And if they can't, then we sit it out until they turn around and fix our problems at the time. Period that works for us.
How long could we sustain that, though? Won't there come a time where we have to make a decision about going to a different vendor?
There'll come a time where we will want to turn around and join what the others are doing, and they'll have to fix this problem. We will have to upgrade and code fix. The question is now the right time? It doesn't seem like it, to turn around and put in a new hotfix that basically is not even a week old, hasn't been tested in any way, shape, or form at this point in time. So we want to and there's always the radio. That's what they're doing right now. That if you need to call for mutual aid you just get on the radio and you call each of the areas to turn around and do it. You just continue using the procedures that we use today until they can get this up and running and working.
Are we giving them any money?
Yes?
Can we stop
Have
them?
have we done it yet? No.
We're not paying them any money.
They want money for licenses and also to help pay a portion for the hosting costs for their pay a portion for the hosting costs for their shared system up in Madison. So that has been budgeted. It's budgeted within the fire department. At this point in time, they're looking for eventual.
Are we considering withholding until they get it fixed?
It could be done if the fire department would, and Adam Remington, which ultimately this is his project, would decide to make that decision.
So Jim, is the issue in the risk register?
Pardon?
Is this issue there?
Pardon?
Is this issue logged in the risk register?
No, because it's, at this point, we're not running this into production. This
Okay.
is currently something that's in test and development. It is not rolled into production. We're stable right now on production, but if I had to put this in a destabilized production, then it would go on the risk register.
Thank you.
All done?
All done.
Okay, future agenda items. Moving up, A in our closed session, I think to the top of the list, correct? And then going through B and C, the comments, the red lines, correct? Those would be the big ones?
Yep.
Those would be the big ones?
Yep.
No further action is required on the fiber network, is that correct?
That's correct.
Is there anything else that should bubble up towards the top on that list?
Migration to web application is going to go in May. Or June.
Jim, you mentioned the risk register. Should we get a copy of that?
Probably should.
Yeah.
It was distributed, I thought last time.
Yeah.
It was distributed, I thought last time.
You probably see it quarterly, at least.
Yeah. I know I definitely will be looked at, again, once the penetration test is done. If they can get that done off fairly quick, because that's like number 1, 2, and 3 on the risk registers.
And then all I would ask is the direction that you're taking on item A.
Then you have
I'm
the
sorry,
red line.
on a closed session, item A, because you were going to make the decision on that.
Okay. How would you want to be, how informed last week or next session, or do you want like an email?
As soon as you make it.
It has to be before tomorrow, so.
I know. Yeah, so just let us know which direction. Alrighty, next meeting, March 23rd, 6 PM. Any other items? Any other items before adjournment? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, Mayor Steve Olson, just want to thank, there's 3 of you I've never met before. Just want to thank you all for serving. It's a good thing that you're doing for your community. I appreciate your expertise. It's a tough thing to do, and qualified are even more tough. So I appreciate you doing
Thank you.
the work in the city, so thank you for your work.
Appreciate it, Mr. Mayor.
You too, Dale.
Me too, no matter what they say.
Yeah, that's fine. Looking for a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
Second? Thank you. Motion carried.